Okay, so here we go. Soapbox Sundays. Um, the topic is spirituality in the Black community. And um, that's a topic that we could talk about, I don't even know, like extensively. But I think what I would talk about today in particular is sometimes how Christianity can be used to move you away from your natural spiritual gifts. Things that are labeled demonic, things that are labeled as, coming from the devil or, just things of that nature, which are actually true gifts given by the Most High God. And we're steered clear from them. And what's interesting about that is you will have the same religious leaders that are steering you clear of moving in a specific direction, right? Being spiritual, right? What's spiritual? What's spirituality? Um, and they are using the very practices that they're moving you away from. Okay. So again, that is a whole nother conversation, but this is deep. All right. Because religion is not a bad thing when you understand it. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to throw the baby away with the bathwater, right? And there are things and elements within religion, and I could say specifically Christianity and other religions too, that are right and true. But what it's mixed with, and then what they tell you to steer clear of, well, that's a whole nother subject, right? Because we want to throw that bathwater out. So I feel like this has been my own experience that it becomes very dangerous, especially for Black folks. We can get into this danger zone of basically being rocked to sleep by Christianity, being rocked to sleep by religiosity, um, and not operating in our true spiritual gifts. And they will have you thinking you're crazy. They will have you thinking you of the devil. They'll have you thinking some spirit talking to you. And, at the end of the day, we're spirit beings. So when you're talking to another person, you're talking to a spirit. So there's that. Okay. There's another perspective on that. All right. And just like all human beings, yes, that we have a spiritual realm and we have a physical realm, right? We are in physical bodies, but we're spirit beings in a physical body, right? And then you have spiritual beings that are in the spiritual world that they don't have the physical body. And I think just like human beings who are spirits, you have good spirits and you have bad spirits in the 3D, as they call it, which is the physical realm, and the 5D, right? Which is the spiritual realm. So you're going to find both. And what I always hesitate saying good and bad, but let's say low vibrational and high vibrational. And you decide what kind of vibrational entity you are, right? And how you want to operate on this planet. Now, what I will say is that this is my belief through my experience and through just reading and watching and sharing other people's experiences as well too, that Black folks are highly in tune to spirituality because of melanin, because of our hair. And I think that there are quite a few people around the world outside of our community that know this. And I think that we acknowledge it, but we don't. Some of us do. We understand that power, and others of us don't. Um, and I think there's a large majority of us that don't. But see, the problem with that is when you don't understand your power, somebody else can use it for you. And that's where I feel like a huge majority, especially of Christians in the Black community, where they're at. Your power is being used and it's with your permission, right? Um, Again, like this is a pretty deep conversation and it's hard to just cover it all in one sitting, right? But I think the point of everything is Black folks really need to acknowledge their power and understand once again that if you don't use it, somebody else is and will continue to use it. Okay. That's what this power structure is partially about. The systematic racist structure is to keep you in a place of subservience, to keep you in a place of low vibration, to keep you in a place of misunderstanding and not understanding who you are, right? I don't know, just to give an example to people that, are like, what is she talking about with this melanin and this and that? Well, did you know that they've recently created a microchip with melanin? Now, one of my first questions is, where did you get that melanin from? Mhm. But they're using melanin in microchips. What do you think it does organically that they can take something organic and put it in something that is artificial, something that is essentially dead, and it makes it work? Please think about that. And so, when it comes to religion, again, the doctrines themselves are a whole topic of discussion, but there's truth in those doctrines, and that's how they get you, right? Because the best lies are mostly truth with a sprinkling of omission or just straight up lies, right? So it's like having a big cup of water and you put a little bit of dirt in it. If I gave that to you, would you drink it? No. Okay. So at the end of the day, when it comes to Black folks and their spirituality, we need to understand that we are spiritual beings that have a direct connection to the Most High God. Okay. We don't need religion to have a connection. Okay. Religion is man made. And again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it as long as you understand it and you understand how to operate in it and you understand the doctrines and what's true and what's not. Right. Um, you have a strong connection with the Creator, with the Most High God. One of the things that I have come here for, I believe, is to help people with that connection. Meaning, even if it's just calling their attention to it. You know, I know that there are probably people out there that are struggling with this like new spiritual awakening, and I'm sure there are Christians struggling with it. I went through the whole breaking down your spiritual foundation and rebuilding it, and then breaking it up again and rebuilding it. Okay, it's not easy. This is something that is indoctrinated. It basically is something that you have learned generationally. It's in your DNA, but what's also in your DNA is this spiritual connection that is undeniable. You have a connection that others will never have. And It is what it is. Okay. You have a connection and you have gifts and you have abilities. And when you start to wake up to those things and use them and come into agreement with what you're here for, the Black community will start to rise. The Black community will heal. The Black community will, sorry about that. The Black community um, will again, like, heal and rise. And it's not going to happen by pointing out what's wrong with another Black person. It's going to happen by looking at yourself. It's going to happen by you taking time with God to ask God, what is it I'm here for? Am I truly in alignment with my calling? What's the part that I play as an individual who is a part of the whole community? Okay. One of the things that I really dislike about religiosity is this, and it's colonization, this separation. You know, the leader of the church is much better and is giving you all these aha moments, and they're better than you. It's not directly said, but it's said, right? It's felt. It's one of those unsaid things. You know, well, preacher said, deacon said. Well, my question, what did God say? And you don't need deacon or preacher or whoever to tell you that. Let's not get it twisted. God has placed spiritual leaders on this planet. But let me tell you something about spiritual leaders. They should be some of the most humblest people. And I hesitate using that word humble because that's another thing the colonizer uses against us as Black folks. But that's another subject. Once again, you see, I got a lot. Their responsibility is great because spiritual leaders, and I do believe this, and this is in the Bible, this is one of those truths for me, that if you mislead God's people, you have their blood on your head. So when these people that are religious leaders do things to spiritually abuse people, to physically abuse people, emotionally and mentally abuse people, oh, they got hell to pay like nobody's business. You think it's these celebrities that got hell to pay because of stuff that you think they're doing when you don't really have an understanding of what it is? I was just talking to one of my friends about that. You don't really have an understanding on what those people go through. Okay. It's the people that's in plain sight sometimes, the people that you're adoring, the thing that you least suspect and is the most insidious thing of all could be the preacher standing at the top of the church at the pulpit, who's doing things behind the scenes, who's doing things right in front of your face that you just can't even imagine. You would be appalled. And people are becoming exposed because God ain't having it. Now, there are those who do right. There are those, but they have an understanding. They have an understanding between them and God that their position is not easy and it is a heavy responsibility, a heavy crown, if you will, to wear. Now, I'm going to go back to you because as an individual, when you go meet your creator ain't going to ask you about pastor, deacon, right? I think we all know that. We don't need a text, a scripture to tell us this. He's going to ask you about you. And if you did what he sent you there for, right? So at the end of the day, we all need to look within ourselves and really make sure that we're checking in spiritually with the creator again to see, hey, am I in alignment with what it is that you sent me here for? And if I'm not, what do I need to do differently? Now, when we come into alignment in that manner, get ready for the messages that come, because sometimes they will do things like break up your spiritual foundation, break up your religious foundation. Give you for an example. One of the things that you keep seeing, I'm sure, quite a bit about are crystals, right? Now, I am fairly positive, without getting on, social media, that there's probably Christians and people of all different religions like, oh, that's from the devil and this and that. Well, here's the thing. With crystals, first of all, crystals and precious gems are mentioned throughout the Bible, right? How is heaven described? So there's something celestial and spiritual about gems and crystals. Not only that, if you know your Bible, if you're somebody that takes the time to, read it, I'm not saying you got to be perfect, nobody's perfect, but you take the time and you've read it, right? You would know that the high priest in Israel actually had a plate that they would wear that represented the 12 tribes of Israel. And there were different crystals and precious gems, stones that represented each tribe. And that this high priest could not go into the Ark of the Covenant without this specific breastplate, crystals. Why is that? Because there's power there. There's power. So you can't pick and choose. And this is my problem with religion in general. There is this picking and choosing. So the preacher will tell you about tithing, but he's not going to talk about the breastplate, the breastplate of the high priest, right? Who wore this to go into the Ark of the Covenant, namely, let's say Aaron, Moses's brother. That was a part of ritual. In other words, if the priest didn't go in with that plate, with the specific garb that's outlined in the in the commandments, right? In the covenant that the Israelites had with the with the Most High God, he could be struck dead as soon as he moves into the covenant, the Ark of the Covenant. So you don't think crystals have power? Of course they do. You could arguably say that they have their own, if you will, spirit, that they're alive. You can grow crystals. Right? So this is just one example of things that we get so caught up on. And yet we just follow people and we're not paying attention to one, what is right in front of us, and two, what is our creator saying? And I would add this about the crystals. They are natural. They are something that is created by the Most High God. Why would there be anything demonic about them? No. And so even with everything that I'm saying, it's very breaking up your spiritual foundation and rebuilding it again. I think that a lot of people are being called to do that and they're scared. I think they're scared, and rightly so. Rightly so. Because you're probably searching in the dark. I've done that. But no, even though you're searching in the dark, the only thing you need to do is pray. The only thing you need to do is ask. And God will turn on a light somewhere, somehow. Because if he's calling you, that's the whole reason that you were searching in the dark. So continue the process. Don't be scared. Don't be scared when you see or you feel that you're getting a sign. Pay attention to those signs. Okay? I want to say for Black folks, your melanin is activated. It's always been activated. Pay attention. What is God trying to tell you that you're being hard-headed, basically, and not listening to? Because Pastor said, Pastor ain't God. So that's my little soapbox for this Sunday. Let me know what you guys think about this, and if this is something that you would like to I don't know, like see more of Soapbox Sundays. I may actually even post this on YouTube because I'm thinking this is a little bit too long for TikTok. Maybe post clips there. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. I'm kind of curious to know what people think. Like, how are you guys doing? You know, Black folks, like where you at? Where you at? How you feeling about you? How you feeling about your spirituality? Are you feeling like you're hitting kind of a metaphorical ceiling and you're not understanding what's going on here? Are you praying and you're like, well, that's my form of manifesting and it ain't happening the way that you think it should happen? Maybe God is trying to call your attention to something. Because let me tell you something about this whole manifestation thing really, really quick. And then I really will get off my soapbox. They leave out pieces. They leave out pieces. So they give you some. This is prayer, manifestation. To me, it's the same thing, spoken word. It's the same thing. What are you speaking in your prayer? What are you speaking over yourself? What are you speaking over others? But there's more to it than just that. There's more to it than just speaking. I spoke and therefore, well, that's Descartes. I spoke, or I think, therefore I am. I'm sorry, I got my stuff mixed up there. But basically, God spoke and then, things appeared and we're made in his image. And that's where that whole, speaking things into existence, that's a part of it. I'm all oversimplifying it, but get the point. So where are you at with this stuff? You know? How are you feeling in today's climate? Do you feel like you're going through a spiritual awakening? Is it scaring you? Um, are you going through it and you're loving it because you always knew something was kind of like tapping you and you're like, something don't feel right? Are you coming into spiritual gifts that you're just like, whoa, I always had this and I ignored it? Or you're just realizing that you have something? Like, where are you at? What's up? Where you at? What you doing? You already know your melanin activated? You know? How is it activated? What's going on? Give me something. Maybe I said a lot. I gave too many calls to actions. I don't know, but tell me how you doing. I really want to know, because I love and I care about us so much, and I'm just sick and tired of seeing us being dragged. You know, when we could just pick up, tell them to step off, like pick ourselves up, tell them to step off, and do what we do you know? So, yeah, let me know what you think. Bye. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to turn it off.